Frontier.
The Bristol Hospital Counseling Center is hosting a free monthly mental health and substance recovery series. We've had them on once a month to talk about it. The next session is going to happen on Tuesday, February 6th. That is going to focus on substance abuse and recovery resources. Now, these meetings are open to anybody in the community who needs help and wants to take part in an open conversation. So here to talk about some of the questions associated with substance use and abuse and to talk about the resources available, I'm happy to have back our good friend Michael Miarecki, a licensed clinical social worker with the hospital. Good to see you again.
Good morning.
Okay, let's start with the triggers for substance abuse problems.
All right, so triggers, there's a lot of them out there. So sometimes we have a born predisposition to have an addictive personality per se.
Yeah.
So just being aware that, if you grew up in a substance using household, those might be that might be a cause for using substances later in life. There's other substance use triggers as well, whether there's some stressors going on in your life, financial, marital, partnership, relationships, all of that kind of stuff. So those are some of the triggers for some substance use.
Do they know this addictive personality? Is there both sort of a genetic component and a nurture, like a nature and a nurture to it? Have they ever figured that out? Do you know?
I'm not fully aware of that, whether they figured it out or not, but I know there is correlations between family substance use and current substance use for folks.
Okay. If you're worried about a loved one out there, what are some of the signs people should be looking for?
Some of the signs are isolation. If you notice they're doing things that are a little bit out of the norm for them, maybe they look a little bit different, they're acting a little bit different than they have in the past. As I said, isolating, but isolating in a negative sort of way, just kind of always pulling themselves away from family get-togethers, not talking to you, not talking to other family members and things like that. This typical symptoms, pupils may be dilated or not dilated, kind of those type of things too. So
yeah, and I imagine at some point, if you decide that a loved one of yours needs to be confronted about this, first of all, I don't even know if confronted is the right word. Mm-hmm. What should people do if they really suspect or are sure there's a problem?
I think confronted is an okay word to use in that. I like to use the word I like to use that kind of confrontation and kind of saying, what's going on? How are you feeling? Are you using anything? It's if you recognize something, it's always a good thing to point it out to that person. I don't think hiding it and keeping it in the back is actually a good thing. I think bringing it out to the person is probably the best way of dealing with it head on.
Silence would sort of be enabling.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and there's so many other questions I want to ask about that, but I want to make sure we talk more about what people can expect to get there on Tuesday from 6:30 to 7:30. What is that open conversation going to be?
So we're going to talk about all the things we just talked about, Tim. We're also going to talk about resources within the community. So we'll talk about AA, NA. We'll talk about all those other different type of resources. We'll talk about treatment options as well, whether you just need outpatient treatment, whether you need a detox, whether you need a long-term inpatient. All of those things we'll be bringing up within that conversation, and what the various substances are as well. So we'll talk about as much as we can in that 1 hour time frame that I have with the folks. So
I imagine there's a lot of variables depending upon the substance, the severity, the intensity, all that sort of thing. So there's a lot to get to. But if you think this is something you need to deal with yourself or with a family member, this is one of those great first steps just to get you on the right track. Michael and all the people at Bristol Hospital will be happy to help you. So glad to have you back.
Thanks a lot, Tim.
Let's have you back next month as that series continues.